I am thankful that, he's getting the recognition he deserves as the hero he was.
This overdose prevention site in the middle of Yaletown is a tool to help an ongoing crisis in the city. Just ahead, more on the location and its tribute to a harm reduction worker.
This is a racist, misogynist attack. No ifs and buts.
Asian activists are condemning the deadly mix of racism and sexism that led to the killings of 8 people in the Atlanta spa shootings.
There are 498 new cases of COVID-19 across the province tonight, and 4 more people have died in the last day. 281 people are currently in hospital, with 83 listed in intensive care. More than 444,000 doses of the vaccine have been rolled out so far. 87,000 of those doses are second doses. Homicide investigators are looking into the death of a woman who was shot and killed on Vancouver's downtown east side. It happened at around 4 o'clock this morning. Police were called to the Arco Hotel on Pender and Abbott Streets. When they arrived, they found a woman with a gunshot wound. She was taken to hospital but later died. Her identity has not been released.
No arrests have been made at this time. We believe the suspect or the person responsible for this offense did flee the building prior to police arrival, so the investigation is ongoing.
Anyone with information is asked to call police. This is Vancouver's 3rd homicide of the year.
It's nice. It's really good to have his name on it.
People will know it's a safe place because his name's attached to it.
Thomus Donaghy, that's the name of this new overdose prevention site in Yaletown. It's a tribute for a harm reduction worker who was murdered on the job last year.
And it's really appropriate. He spent the last 4 years of his life working almost constantly.
Thomus Donaghy worked in Vancouver and helped establish the city's overdose prevention sites in 2016. In July of last year, he was stabbed while on duty at the location beside St. Paul's Hospital and later died from his injuries. A 23-year-old man from Victoria was arrested and charged with manslaughter in Donaghy's death. Sarah Blythe works with the Overdose Prevention Society and worked with Donaghy. She says he was responsible for saving hundreds of lives through his work.
He saved a lot of lives that way, just on his own and just as a volunteer, knowing that, it got to him, the fact that people could be alone in alleys dying. And he really did care, and he was compassionate in a way that, you don't see a lot of people doing.
The overdose prevention site at the corner of Seymour and Helmkin opened on March 1st. And community advocates say they can't imagine a better name for the Yaletown location as they continue to grieve.
This is the best we could do. Everyone was still is really broken up about it. It's horrible.
Karen Ward is a drug policy advisor for the city of Vancouver. She misses Donaghy and says he would be proud to see another site open that has the potential to save lives.
It's going to improve. People aren't going to be using outside because now they use inside. It's the solution for that. Just like housing is the solution for homelessness. If people are using outside, bring them inside. And that's going to form slowly a connection with people where they could get connected to other things like housing and other health care.
Last year, BC had its deadliest year on record for drug overdoses. 1,716 people died in 2020, a 74% increase over 2019. Blythe says she and her colleagues are exhausted.
What we're going through right now, it's almost every day there's a new person who's passed on. And it's pretty unbearable to wake up with.
They're not overdose prevention sites in a sense. People overdose, but they don't die. They're death prevention, and that's what he did. Hundreds of people.
Ward says there are plans to create a permanent sign at the Yaletown overdose prevention site to honor Donaghy and his legacy. In Vancouver, Ashley Burr, City News.
Transit police say they respect today's decision by the court. They're reacting to word the man who shot at one of their officers at the Scott Road SkyTrain station in January of 2019 will spend close to 16 years in custody with credit for time served. Dayon Glasgow was found guilty of a lesser charge and 3 other offenses after Constable Josh Harms was seriously hurt. Harms has since returned to work, and transit police say they hope that the sentence will help him on his healing journey. Breaking news to a story we've been following closely here on City News. The Senate has passed a bill to expand Canadians' access to medical assistance in dying. The bill expands access to people who are experiencing intolerable suffering, but who are not approaching the end of their natural lives. In 2 years, eligibility will extend to people suffering solely with mental illness. The law is expected to receive royal assent later tonight. Now to a developing story in the case of the 2 Canadian men imprisoned in China on espionage charges. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Marc Garneau says court hearings for Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig are set to begin within days. In a statement, Garneau calls their detentions arbitrary and says the Canadian government continues to work tirelessly for their immediate release. The imprisonment of the 2 Michaels for more than 2 years has severely strained relations between China and Canada. Their arrests, widely viewed as retaliation for the Canadian arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou on a U.S. extradition warrant in December of 2018. Spavor's trial is set for Friday and Kovrig's for next Monday.
Asians across North America are in shock after a series of shootings at spas outside of Atlanta that killed 8 people, 6 of the victims Asian women. Activists say this isn't just part of the current wave of anti-Asian racism, but part of a longer trend involving the over-sexualization of Asian women in media.
The stereotype is also that we are sexualized, right? We are objectified. We are not human. We are just sexual beings to be preyed.
They're shown as submissive people or as a sex object. So Lucy Liu, she's always like the femme fatale. You know, she's this wearing this leather body, skin tight bodysuit. And so we're either ninjas or we're these weak people who are in need of help of a white savior.
Depictions of East Asian women in popular media have historically lacked depth, portraying Asian women either as over-the-top femme fatales or submissive stereotypes. The trend has been propagated for over half a century, and more nuanced, complex depictions of Asian women are only now beginning to emerge.
You know, you watch TV, you watched all these women, Asian women being sexualized, you know, in terms of portrayal. You know, your day-to-day life is defined by those messages and defined by that broader, you know, society image of you.
While American authorities say the Atlanta spa killings were motivated by sex addiction, a local Korean newspaper reports eyewitnesses saying the shooter claimed he was there to kill Asians. Amy Go says it's not just one or the other. The two are inexorably linked.
This is a racist, misogynist attack. No ifs and buts. He particularly picked those target places knowing Asian women were there, knowing her targets were there. Don't tell me that it is not both.
Liu adds that there's a clear class element to this crime as well. Though nominally spas, Google reviews indicate that at least one of the locations targeted was a brothel. Liu says that women in sex work, particularly racialized women, are especially vulnerable, more prone to being victims of violence and unable to access help. In Ottawa, Xiaoli Li, City News.
Racism and misogyny are a reality many are still facing today, according to officials here in BC, who are speaking after the shocking shooting in Atlanta that killed 8 people at 3 massage parlors, including 6 Asian women. The Parliamentary Secretary for Anti-Racism Initiative says BC is not immune to these types of violent incidents.
Any crime against women is a hate crime. Any crime, any anti-Asian crime is a hate crime. Deeply concerned about it, but very committed to fight hate crime. BC is the only province that has a dedicated anti-hate crime unit within the policing, which provides advice to all the policing units all across BC to how to deal with these sort of things.
Rashna Singh also noted the importance of listening to the stories of those who experience racism and hate in order to create policies that address it.
So because of the time change, I've been feeling really tired, and honestly, I'd rather stay in this bed for the rest of the day than go out and do another interview. But just ahead, we're going to find out exactly what the impacts of the time change are and how you can get your sleep back on track. Here we go. Ugh.
7 West Coast Express trains are going to get makeovers. The federal and provincial governments have announced an agreement with TransLink to spend more than $20 million to refurbish the trains. The project will keep the West Coast Express service running efficiently for the thousands of people who use it. Commuters won't be affected since the trains will be upgraded one by one. Agricultural officials in BC and Washington state are gearing up to track, trap, and eradicate the Asian giant hornet, also known as the murder hornet. The invasive pest was first detected in Washington in 2019, and it's also been spotted on Vancouver Island and in the Fraser Valley. Last year, 6 hornets were found in the Fraser Valley through public reporting. No sightings were reported on Vancouver Island in 2020.
We are going to put traps out, and again, I'm very grateful for the magic elixir that I received from Washington State. It is in particular a novel pheromone that we will also be using in some of the traps to entice those hornets to come into the traps. We will have a crew of people that will monitor this on a weekly basis, and hopefully we will be successful. And again, there are numerous agencies involved in doing this, and maybe we will have nothing to show for at the end of 2021, which would suggest that the hornets don't like British Columbia.
So far this year, there have been no new confirmed sightings of Asian giant hornets, but new queens will begin to emerge as spring approaches. If you think you've spotted a murder hornet, report it to the Invasive Species Council of BC.
So after the time change on the weekend, I have to admit I've been feeling kind of off, and it's been harder to get out of bed. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be feeling like this for this long. Did you?
Yeah, I'm more tired than usual for some reason. What about you?
True. Yeah? I also feel tired.
Tired?
Yeah. I'm tired.
Almost always tired, yeah.
Okay, so how did the time change affect you? How are you feeling now?
More tired.
Sleep's been fabulous.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel horrible. What's your secret?
I just go to bed when it's tired and I go to sleep.
Well, if only we could all feel like this man. Baby and toddler sleep consultant Desiree Russell suggests it's partially my fault that I'm not adjusting to my new sleep schedule.
Well, I think that because it takes us so long to adjust to actually going to bed at the right time again, you know, it isn't necessarily about the time change affects our body. It's that we don't pay attention to the time that is now our new bedtime, and we're not recalibrating that. So we end up losing an hour of sleep because we didn't adjust it somewhere else.
According to the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety, losing sleep over the time change may increase workplace injuries, and ICBC has reported higher driving risks on the first Monday after the clocks jump forward. We, of course, can't forget about the plight of parents with young children during the time change.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so how's that been?
Challenging because they want to go to bed later. They're not tired when they should be, according to the clock, but then they're waking up an hour earlier.
So toddlers, it's a little bit more similar to adults. So what you want to look at again, because toddlers are either on one nap or are on no naps. So you don't want that nap kind of pushing too late into the day, because then what'll happen is your drive for sleep at bedtime will be off, and now you have a toddler going to bed really late or really early, or whichever time change you've hit. And then looking at what's happening for them in the evening. Are they having sugar? Are they playing with iPads?
The same goes for us adults. Russell recommends we set our bodies up for producing those natural sleep hormones by creating a less stimulating environment. Dim the lights, get off your phone, and don't have any caffeine.
I also say if you do nothing at all, usually within 7 to 10 days, your body, especially for us adults, naturally kind of recalibrates, but that's not always for everybody.
In Vancouver, Keir Junos, City News.
500 drones took to the skies above Dublin tonight as Ireland celebrated St. Patrick's Day. The ultra-lightweight drones weaved into different shapes and alternated colors as part of a show called Orchestra of Light. While St. Patrick's Day celebrations were muted in Ireland and around the world due to the pandemic, 670 landmarks in 66 countries were lit up in green to celebrate the holiday. Vancouver's news is always available on the radio with News 1130 or online anytime at citynews1130.com. And your next edition of City News is later on tonight at 11 o'clock. Thanks for watching and have a great evening.